Hello, my name is Kiriath, and today we're going to talk about the fact that one David Moore of Imperial Emporium, Iron Crown Games, Starchild Goods, Fellowship, Crafts and Hobbies is suing Games Workshop, Forge World, and all of the executives thereof for $62.5 million. Sorry, $62.5 million. And this is a weird one, largely because I'm not a lawyer, so I can't specifically say why yes, he does have a case, or no, he doesn't have a case. All we can really do is look at the affidavit in support of complaint, which is an action for fraud, price fixing, tortious interference, violations of Sherman Antitrust Act, and racketeer influenced and corrupted organisations Act, and unfair trade practices under 18 and 15 USC. And your plaintiff, the Reverend David Moore, which is a detail that had previously escaped me, swears and affirms the following detailed true statements of fact for the record. It's weird. This is weird. I mean, for a start, the dude's from Florida, which immediately makes it funny, because let's face it, Florida man does mental shit is hardly a new headline. I've read through this a couple of times, this affidavit, which I'm not going to cut to and from in the video, and I'm only going to not do that because this is a PDF, which is what looks like a scan of paper, and to be honest, the text isn't great to begin with. A lot of it is quite small and a bit sort of not hard to make out, but it is not going to fare well once it's been recorded and then it's been encoded and then it's been uploaded to YouTube and then it's been encoded again and compressed. It'll just look crappy and hard to follow if you're trying to actually read along something that's on the video, in this case, just because of what it is, the nature of the document itself. I'll link it down below so you can see what I'm saying, so you can look at it yourself, so you can open it yourself, and you can zoom in and stuff, and you won't have any of that loss of quality that you will get if I start flipping about all over the place on this, okay? So, I mean, just that, as I say, I can't make like a informed judgment call because I'm not a fucking lawyer. But, I've seen... I've seen like various lawsuits flinging around, especially YouTube related stuff, and this does not read to me as something that strikes me as being particularly professional. This has very much an air of those guys from Digital Homicide suing Jim Sterling. This reads like something that they would put out, which kind of suggests to me that this might not go great. So, I mean, as I say, I'll link the affidavit in the description, but let's just go straight in with point 1 of this document, which by itself is like, this is probably not going to go all that well. Games Workshop announced in 2016 that they were not a game company, but a model company. That only exposed them to the truth, with a capital T, of their business model of infringement. So clever lawyers advised them to lie further and say they were a game company. Of course, they only ever were a miniature foundry of semi-amateur model makers. Under the US Copyright Code, making a few models ripping off other copyrights to use in private games as non-profit personal use is allowed if they don't sell it, but that's not what they do. Games Workshop is a game manufacturer, not distributor or retailer of others' legally copyrighted work. So, I mean, straight away, what he's essentially saying is that Games Workshop are full of shit and they are making stuff that infringes on other people's copyright illegally, which is a fairly bold statement to make. Certainly an interesting way to open things up. I just... That doesn't read as professional to me. I mean, it just doesn't... You know what I mean? That doesn't strike me as being something that was formulated by a lawyer to make a strong case. Only expose them to the truth of their business model of infringement is poor wording to start with, and a bit conspiracy theory minded. That's the only way I can really put it. So there's crazy stuff all the way through this. It talks about how Games Workshop opened locations close to different stores that are already stocking Games Workshop stuff, trying to drive them out of business. And that is like, again, it's just weird. It's just weird. So The guy's store was already in the business of promoting sci-fi tablet warming to fellow Americans for over 20 years, all before Games Workshop ever came over here to ask stores to sell their models to my American customers. Stores entered a verbal and good faith agreement governed by US law to premiere Games Workshop's manufactured items. After stores spent years, tens of thousands of dollars and man-hours building Games Workshop business, Games Workshop managed to store sales and began shorting key new products customers expect from stores in order to steal sales with their own mail order and official locations. Games Workshop monitored the store's sales and built a huge Games Workshop location just 6 big blocks from store's brick and mortar in Buffalo, stealing the plaintiff's years of work, customer base and business. That's part of a complaint, that Games Workshop opened a shop near his shop. That's, regardless of what sort of contract you have, unless the contract states you cannot open a shop near my shop, I don't really understand how that is supposed to be relevant, or how that would be in any way seen as illegal. Surely that's just the nature of capitalism. If they see a market, they move into it. If your store closes because their store opens, it sucks, and I feel for the dude, but welcome to how every other fucking trade in America works. It's just bizarre. It's a bit crazy, and I don't really understand how it's going to work. As I say, if we have any legally minded people in the comments, then by all means take a look through this and tell me what you think, because it just looks a bit crazy. It just looks a little bit crazy. Okay, so there's other stuff like in item 6, the problem in dealing professionally with Games Workshop is their cult brainwashing of disinformation, that they own/control ideas and designs they've stolen, and that all the work, ingenuity and profits made by others, like your plaintiff, is also somehow theirs to steal back as well. This is like he said, she said stuff, but just accusing someone of something. Games Workshop trains a sociopath cult of gossipers, rewarded for calumny. I don't even know what that means. Calumny? They fabricate to undermine any novel marketing success, professionalism, or originality, like this dude's store. Games Workshop's cheapness and exploitation has consistently caused them to fail again and again, apparently. Games Workshop ignored huge fan convention revenue development several years ago, while events like San Diego Comic-Con generates $135 million in 4 days. That's okay. I don't know what that's got to do with suing Games Workshop. Like, what is that? Who knows? Who really knows? Item 9. Games Workshop has a long reputation for idiocy and immature retaliation against any private person speaking truth, with a capital T, again, about their antics. Facebook has a Games Workshop page for the public, but Games Workshop ruthlessly ejects anyone stating facts they don't like. They impeding free speech to lie to the public. He can't even type his fucking reasons for suing out in comprehensible English half the time. It's just weird. I just can't see it going anywhere, I cannot see it going anywhere. This is number 14. Okay, number 14 is by far my favourite. Games Workshop sells 1-inch models like the Imperial Space Marine for $30 retail online, requiring a minimum of $10 shipping. Stores contacted the VP of Double Grand, associate of Games Workshop's Asian suppliers, and received a confirmed quote of 3 cents per figure for said 1-inch injection moulded plastic figures. Games Workshop sells mass-produced plastic at 50,000% markup. No, just about everywhere, I apologise. It's not a 100% markup for 6 cents, not a 1,000% for 60 cents, but 50,000% at $30. Okay, first issue with that is, I went and I fucking googled like a nutcase to find Double Grand, and to find their connection to Games Workshop's Asian suppliers, and you'll never guess what, but I couldn't find a fucking word about it. Not only that, but I am deeply, deeply sceptical that Games Workshop even has Asian suppliers, given that on the back of the fucking models, it says that they're made in Nottingham, for God's sake. Where is it? It says here somewhere, I think it's down the bottom. But they're UK made, they're UK supplied. Games Workshop doesn't use Asian suppliers to the best of my knowledge. They use they make them in fucking England, in Nottingham. I mean, he's got the actual method of production correct, but he's got the country wrong, and he's got what even is Double Grand? For all we know, Double Grand isn't even anything. I can't find anything about it at the very least. And when he says Games Workshop Asian suppliers, if they don't have Asian suppliers, who the fuck did he talk to? Do you know what I mean? It's like, I don't get it. I don't get it. Oh, there we go. Manufactured in the UK and distributed by Games Workshop. I've even got a fucking Slaughter Blade right here. It's up there in the top. Just above Games Workshop. Now, if it isn't manufactured in the UK and they do have Asian suppliers, you can sue them for that, but not for what he's just said. Number 14. 3 cents per figure from Asian suppliers. And it says fucking made in England on the goddamn packet. Alright. 15. Despite their truly gross profit, the store was cheated from buying Imperial Space Marine figures with trade accounts to sell it to our customers. Instead, Games Workshop opted to steal their needed retail sales from stores that deserved it and had earned it. There's a whole load of stuff down there, and at one point they do describes someone as a problem-causing lackey. It's not professional language, is the thing that I'm getting from this more than anything. It sounds like a fucking crackpot who's just gone off on one and just gone mental on the keyboard, just typing out a load of stuff they don't like. Virtually, number 17, just as a completely a perfect example, virtually all interactions with the creeps in Memphis who work for the criminals in England, criminals with a capital C, are some version of the same unending scam, headache and con job every single day. Stores and 1,500 American game stores have been fed up for too long. Games Workshop takes pre-orders instructing stores to pre-sell it, then shorting us so our stolen customers must rebuy direct from them. Games Workshop competes unfairly with stores by selling on their website and by opening stores where I have to steal my customers. Games Workshop also harasses, intimidates and defrauds my good customers who buy, sell, trade online to illegally price fix because they sell on eBay. Again, I don't know if I've even seen Games Workshop selling on eBay. Not in the UK, anyway. They might do in the US, but I've never seen Games Workshop selling on eBay, and I search eBay for Games Workshop stuff a hell of a lot. It's just, yeah, there's so many things in this just mental document that I just don't see it going anywhere. I mean, again, 27. Last year, Games Workshop perpetrated its most unconscionable betrayal of implied contracts, ending their second most publicly purchased game, Warhammer Fantasy Battles. The public were outraged and disgusted. People posted videos burning thousands of dollars of purchased items and processed. All of the models, rulebooks and items were turned valueless. Now Games Workshop plots another global bait and switch with Warhammer 40,000, changing the actual size/scale of its new models to render the presently bought items soon obsolete. Implied contracts are, as far as I'm aware, not particularly helpful. An actual contract is helpful. An implied contract? The implication that if you buy something, a company will support it forever? I don't know if that's legally enforceable at all. I wouldn't have thought so. If it was, then surely anyone who's ever made a video game is up shit creek. Because as soon as they stop updating it, oh, well, you're in violation of your implied contract. I also like their comment ending their second most publicly purchased game, Warhammer Fantasy Battles. At the time, I'm pretty fucking sure that it was Warhammer 40k and it was Warhammer Fantasy Battles, and that was it. So they ended one of their 2 games. He's implying that there were far, far more than that, and there may have been a couple more, but I don't think we had a massive stable of them when that happened, did we? Admittedly, the timescale has kind of got away with me. I think that was like 5 years. Was it 4 years ago that Warhammer Fantasy Battles ended? Or was it longer? Well, I can't remember. I do also enjoy number 29. Games Workshop has long contracted a written agreement on its website. Whatever the reason, you can cancel or return any order to us for a full refund or exchange it for something else. No quibbles and no funny handshakes required. Yet this has not at all been honoured for the poor public left holding now worthless game purchases, fully exchangeable for valid ones now. The thing is, I don't really know how that could be something that could get them in trouble. Maybe if it wasn't buried in whatever the fuck this lawsuit is, like this collection of pages of just incoherent nonsense. But I mean, to be honest, I've sent stuff back to Games Workshop. I've swapped stuff out before. I genuinely have. I've ordered something and then gone, oh, I don't actually need this. What the hell do you do that for? And I've replaced it with something else of the same value. I've done that at least twice. If you're suggesting that you bought a box of fucking Bretonians back in 1995 and you wanted to swap them out for something brand new, then I don't think that is going to be particularly enforceable either. So, I mean, to be honest, as I say, download it yourself, have a read through it, see what you think, but I will be perfectly honest with you, I would be shocked if this went anywhere. I would genuinely be shocked. As far as I can tell, this dude is representing himself. The affidavit that he wrote, that he filed, or his complaints he filed, whatever the terminology is. This document essentially just reeks of ranting. Like, it doesn't seem to actually be structured or written in a way that implies that this is a person who knows what they're doing. And I would be surprised if anything came out of it. Maybe there's a couple of things in there that are a little bit dodgy, but even then, it's stuff that I don't know whether would even be particularly upheld or would be, or a court would be bothered by. Like the written agreement stuff, it could be an issue, but buried amongst this lot, I don't know. I honestly don't. I'd just be shocked if this turned into anything. And $62.5 million is a fucking crazy amount, given that down the bottom, the dude says he fired a criminal complaint for credit card fraud against Games Workshop, and Games Workshop took over $9,000 of their money without fulfilling. And your affiant received administrative relief with the return of those funds from Games Workshop accounts. I just don't think it's going to do anything. I just don't think it's going to go anywhere. I don't think there's much chance of them actually really losing anything. I would be shocked if this turned out to be anything more than just a bit of a blip, and I would not be surprised if it just quietly goes away, either because he settles for a ridiculously small amount because Games Workshop could probably just tell him to fuck off, or if they just fight it and, well, just fight it and win, to be honest. I mean, some of the stuff in there is just blatantly untrue, so it's weird, it's bizarre, it's 100% Florida man. As I say, if any of you were lawyers in any way, then, or studying law or whatever, do take a look through it, let me know what you think in the comments, and it'll be interesting to see how it develops. If it does, it may well not. We might not see anything else about this now. Worth keeping an eye on, though. If anything happens to keep an eye on, that is. Anyway, bit of a different one, bit of a weird video in a way, but I hope you at least found it interesting. Thank you very much for watching. There's the usual array of crap all over the screen, and yeah, just click it if you want to, don't click if you don't, it's entirely up to you. Thank you very much for watching, I'll see you next time. Toodaloo.